Imagine you're lying on your couch, you're just endlessly scrolling through YouTube, and suddenly, bam, you see this headline.
Oh, the classic scroll stopper.
Right. It reads, quote, Taylor Swift's smile as she reveals she's expecting her first child with Travis Kelce on live stream.
Wow. Yeah, that's heavy.
I know. That is exactly the kind of title that makes you just stop dead in your tracks, right?
Absolutely. Because it promises, well, basically everything you could possibly want from celebrity culture.
Exactly. You get the intimacy, you get this massive life update and real-time emotion. It's basically engineered in a laboratory to make your thumb hit that video.
Right, because it leverages that ultimate illusion of access, like when you see a headline like that, you really feel like you are about to witness a completely unfiltered, unscripted human moment.
Yeah, from someone who is historically one of the most guarded public figures on the planet.
Exactly, and the internet just thrives on breaking through that armor.
So the crazy part about the research we pulled for today's deep dive is the massive twist that is just hiding right there in the source material.
Yeah, this part blew my mind.
Right. Because if you actually read past the headline, you get into the transcript of this supposed, world-stopping viral event, you wade through all this breathless analysis of her facial expressions, and then the author just casually drops a bombshell.
Just a complete throwaway line.
Literally. The entire thing is a, quote, fictional scenario. It is completely made up. It never happened.
Which forces us, as the reader, to completely reevaluate what we're actually looking at here.
Yeah.
We aren't doing a deep dive on pop culture gossip today. We are looking at the actual mechanics of modern mythology.
Yes. The ultimate case study in narrative control. So today, we are taking a magnifying glass to this tug of war between an artist who meticulously architects her own public eras and an internet culture that just aggressively fabricates its own stories when it doesn't get enough information.
It's a fascinating dynamic.
Okay, let's unpack this, because to truly understand how someone builds this joyful, pastel-colored empire, we actually have to start by looking back at her darkest era. We have to start with the bunker.
The bunker, right.
Yeah.
The context here is just non-negotiable.
Yeah.
In the interview we're analyzing, she talks extensively about, stepping into the light, but you can't appreciate the light unless you understand the mechanics of the fortress she built just prior to it.
We're talking about the Snake era, the Reputation album.
Right.
And in her interview, she explicitly talks about putting all that dark, moody, chromatic imagery to rest. But what really struck me was her description of the mechanism behind that aesthetic. Why did it exist in the first place?
Well, she says she felt a persona had basically been constructed for her by the public, right?
Yeah, by the media, the public, everyone. So she defiantly puts up a defense mechanism. She built a literal bunker.
And it is a brilliant strategic retreat, if you think about it. Because think about how traditional public relations works.
Oh, it's usually a mess.
Right. When a celebrity faces a massive backlash or a huge shift in public opinion, the standard playbook is to just over-explain.
Yeah, you go on the apology tour.
Exactly. You sit down for a crying interview on a morning show. You flood the zone with your side of the story.
Yeah, you try to talk your way out of it oh, please understand me.
But she realized she had reached a saturation point where the actual words didn't matter anymore. If she spoke, she would just be misconstrued to fit the villain narrative anyway.
Yeah, no matter what she said.
And if she remained silent, well, that silence would be misconstrued as guilt. So she bypassed the traditional PR playbook entirely. She just opted to crouch down, keep her head down, and only communicate through the music.
It totally makes me think of someone building this terrifying, spike-covered moat around a castle.
Oh, that's a great analogy.
Because on the outside, it looks incredibly hostile. She even refers to the songs from that time as, weaponized and angsty. But the entire purpose of that scary exterior is just to safely nurture a real life on the inside.
Right, the contrast is wild.
Yeah. She mentions that the true story of that album, beneath all the bass drops and the snake motifs, was actually about real love and real friendship. Things she found while feeling deeply, deeply misunderstood.
Well, what's fascinating here is how she utilized total silence as the ultimate megaphone.
A megaphone of silence. I love that.
Yeah, she coined a very specific phrase for this era, and she says she was very proud of it. She said, quote, "There will be no explanation, there will just be reputation."
Which is such a massive flex.
Oh, totally.
But hold on, let me challenge this a bit. Because by totally removing herself from the headline, refusing to do the magazine covers, refusing to sit down for interviews to explain herself, Did this media blackout actually work the way she intended?
Well, what do you mean?
Like, did it actually force the fans to connect more deeply with the music, or was it just, a defensive crouch that alienated people?
Honestly, I wouldn't call it alienating at all. Actually, by cutting out the middleman, the press, the bloggers, the media narratives, she forced the relationship to become entirely binary.
Just her and the fans.
Exactly. There was no static anymore. Everything she did on that resulting stadium tour, she says, was solely for them.
Wow.
Yeah, removing herself from the broader cultural conversation surprisingly strengthened her core relationship with her audience because it felt like this highly exclusive dialogue.
Like a secret club.
Right. The fans who showed up felt like they were in on a secret that the general public just didn't get.
Okay, so the bunker actually worked. It kept her safe. But, you can't live in a bunker forever. It gets pretty dark in there.
Right.
And that brings us to what happened when she finally opened the door. The overwhelming energy and love she got from the fans on that stadium tour literally pulled her back out into the light.
It was a catalyst.
Yeah, she describes looking out at the crowd and just feeling this massive resurgence of exuberance. That feeling is what drove her back into the studio so fast. She was tearing down the bunker to build, as she calls it, a chrysalis-inspired fantasy land.
The architecture of joy.
Oh, yes.
And we really need to look at the mechanics of how you actually construct that. Because we often romantically think of artistic expression as just raw, unfiltered emotion spilling out onto a page.
Like you just wake up and write a hit.
Right. But what we see here is the precise, methodical construction of a joyful era. Like, joy is a feeling, yes, but in this context, joy is also a highly strategic offense.
Oh, the process is incredibly detailed. Like, let's talk about the visual side first. She talks about co-directing the music video for the lead single with Dave Meyers.
An absolute legend in music videos.
Seriously. And she didn't just, show up on set and ask where to stand. She wrote the treatment herself. She brought the song to him. They collaborated on packing in as many cool, whimsical visual effects as they possibly could.
It was a true partnership.
Yeah. And she describes doubling over laughing on set. The kind of laugh where your stomach actually hurts and you have to sit down.
And that visceral joy is a requirement if you want it to translate to a massive audience, right? You can't fake that kind of levity on camera.
Definitely not.
But the construction of this era isn't just about throwing pastel paint on a wall. Look at the musical collaboration.
Okay, yes. This is where it gets really cool for anyone who nerds out on music production.
Oh, for sure.
Because she mentions working with Joel Little, this producer from New Zealand. And despite this being a massive stadium-sized pop production, she says working with him felt like classic Nashville songwriting.
And we should explain why that specific detail matters.
Please do.
When people hear massive pop production, they usually think of track and hook camp in Los Angeles, right?
Yeah, just a bunch of laptops.
Exactly.
Yeah.
A producer makes a sterile, generic beat on a laptop, and then a singer is just brought into the booth to lay down a vocal melody over it. It's basically an assembly line.
But she says this was just two writers in a room with a guitar.
Right.
Like they were crafting the lyrics and the core melody from scratch, just stripping it down to the absolute basics before they even started figuring out what the pop production would sound like.
Exactly. It grounds the fantasy. Because if you are going to build a whimsical, chrysalis-inspired fantasy land, you need a very strong foundation. Otherwise, it just floats away and feels hollow.
That makes total sense.
Yeah. Classic Nashville songwriting, focusing on narrative, vulnerability, and acoustic structure. That's the anchor that allows the pop gloss to actually resonate emotionally.
And speaking of pop gloss, she specifically highlights choosing to work with Brendan Urie for the lead single.
Which was a massive choice.
A huge departure for her. Because usually, for duets, she sticks to her very close, insulated circle of friends. People like Ed Sheeran or Zayn.
Right, very safe collaborations.
Yeah, but she stepped outside that comfort zone for Brendan, and she chose him for a very specific reason. His mischievous, over-dramatized performance style.
Which is the exact ingredient you need when you are trying to signal to the entire world that the dark, serious era is officially over.
Yeah, you need that energy.
You need someone who knows how to wink at the camera, and they both love to overly dramatize things just for the sake of humor. She even says in the interview, quote, "People don't always get the joke, but we're having fun."
Okay, but this is where my brain gets a little tangled, and I really want your take on this.
Sure, lay it on me.
Because she is manufacturing this whimsical world. She is highly choreographing this joy, right down to casting a co-star, specifically because of his theatrical flair. So is this joyful era actually authentic? Or is it just as much of a constructed persona as the Dark Snake era?
Ah, I see what you mean.
Like, is she ever truly unscripted, or is this just a different flavor of armor?
Well, I think framing it as fake versus real kind of misses the point of pop art. If we connect this to the bigger picture,
Right.
all art at this scale is a construct.
Yeah, that's true.
When you are performing for 80,000 people in a stadium, you cannot just be unscripted. It's impossible. The difference here is the intent behind the construct.
Okay, the intent.
Right. The dark era was a defense mechanism. It was meant to keep people out. The joyful era is an invitation. It is meant to bring people in.
Oh, I like that.
She is building a brightly lit stage rather than a bunker. She is still meticulously controlling what the audience sees on that stage, of course, but the emotion fueling the design of that stage is genuine exuberance.
That makes a lot of sense. She's designing the house, but she's finally unlocking the front door.
Exactly.
And if this new era is highly playful and crafted, the next logical step, and this is where her genius really truly shows, is how she invites the fans to actively play inside that house.
Right. She gamifies the narrative.
Yes, she gamifies everything.
You were talking about the Easter egg economy.
The Easter egg economy.
Uh-huh.
She explicitly states her goal is to expand music from just being, an audio experience into a scavenger hunt and a brain game.
Which is brilliant marketing, by the way.
It is. She wants it to be symbolic. She wants to entertain the fans on as many levels as possible. Like, if you watch a music video, she wants you pausing it, zooming in on the background, reading the tiny titles of the books on the shelves.
Right. Nothing is by accident.
And you can actually see this dynamic play out in real time during the interview itself.
Yeah, the interviewer inadvertently becomes a player in her game.
It totally turns into this hilarious cat and mouse dynamic. He is trying so hard to get an exclusive scoop.
Oh, he's sweating.
Yeah, he tries to casually drop the word lover into the conversation, just throws it out there to see if she flinches, because the fans online have been heavily theorizing that Lover is the title of the next single.
He thought he was being so slick.
He really did. And she immediately clocks what he's doing. She teasingly shuts him down, saying, wow, so it's not Lover, confirming that they hadn't cracked this single title yet, and basically letting him know he's dealing with a master at work.
She's always 5 steps ahead.
Always. But here's where it gets really interesting, though. She makes a very specific promise. She says, quote, "The Easter egg hunts, when they stop being fun for my fans, I'll stop doing them."
Now, this raises an important question about audience conditioning.
Right.
By turning her fandom into an interactive puzzle, she guarantees a level of deep, obsessive engagement that most artists, and frankly, most major corporate brands, can only dream of.
Oh, they would kill for this level of engagement.
Absolutely. But we have to look at the psychological side of this. She has effectively trained her fans to be detectives. She has taught millions of people to look for hidden meaning, coded messages, and secret narratives in every single detail.
Down to the color of a dress, or like the number of holes in a fence in a photograph.
Exactly. Or just a stray word written on a wall in the background of a video.
You are basically teaching people that there is no such thing as a coincidence.
Precisely. And when you train a massive group of people to believe that everything is a clue, they lose the ability to just take things at face value.
Which brings us to the absolute climax of this deep dive. The dark side of the scavenger hunt.
Because it does have a dark side.
It really does. Because what happens when you train millions of people to be detectives, but then you don't give them a puzzle to solve?
Right.
What happens when they apply that intense detective training to your actual private life?
They will invent a puzzle. Nature abhors a vacuum, and so does the internet.
And that is exactly where the source material we are analyzing today takes this massive, jarring left turn.
It really gives you whiplash.
Yeah. We go from a factual, documented interview about music production and directing music videos straight into a breakdown of this supposed live stream regarding Kansas City Chiefs star Travis Kelce.
And we must reiterate for you, the listener, because it is so easy to get swept up in the narrative while we talk about it. The article itself explicitly admits this is a fictional scenario surrounding the viral-style headline.
It is entirely an imagined event.
Right. It is a thought experiment that the internet just treated as gospel.
But the way the text describes the internet's reaction to this fictional event is so incredibly telling, because it perfectly mirrors our actual reality.
Oh, 100%.
In this fabricated scenario, she is casually chatting on a live stream. Someone in the comments mentions Travis Kelce, and she just smiles.
Just a smile.
That's it. She doesn't give a monologue. She doesn't drop a cryptic poem about football. She just gives a, quote, warm smile.
But because of the Easter egg economy we just talked about, a smile is never just a smile anymore.
Nope.
The internet immediately goes into a frenzy. The breakdown describes fans paying close attention to every single micro-expression. They analyze the exact timing of the smile, the way her eyes crease.
They start claiming that this one fictional smile reveals exactly how deeply he influences her happiness.
It's wild.
They speculate on whether she was remembering a private memory in that exact second, or if there was something happening behind the scenes that nobody knew about. They flood social media with emotional reactions, describing the smile as genuine and effortless.
Based on absolutely nothing.
Right. So what does this all mean? To me, it's like, imagine Taylor built this beautiful, elaborate Easter egg hunt in her front yard for the fans.
Okay, I'm with you.
It's fun, it's engaging, it's a great way to spend a Saturday. But suddenly, the internet decides to start hiding their own fake plastic eggs in her yard, and they are aggressively insisting that she put them there.
Ooh, I'd actually take that a step further, honestly.
Oh, yeah.
Because the plastic eyed analogy implies they are at least bringing something to the yard. It's actually more like they are picking up random, ordinary rocks in her yard, painting them neon colors themselves, and then getting furiously disappointed or overly ecstatic when they crack them open and there's no candy inside.
Oh my gosh, yes. That is exactly it.
The machinery of the scavenger hunt cannot be turned off. It really exposes the double-edged sword of her entire narrative strategy.
Right, because if you reward fans for overanalyzing everything in your music videos, they're naturally going to overanalyze you just walking to your car.
Exactly. When an artist encourages intense microscopic scrutiny of their every move as a marketing tool, they ultimately forfeit the ability to just exist in the public eye.
Yeah, you can't put the genie back in the bottle.
You really can't. Even a hypothetical, completely fictionalized smile becomes the subject of endless online clickbait and amateur psychological profiling. You can't just have an involuntary human facial expression. It has to be a coded message. It has to be a piece of the lore.
It's a feedback loop that is completely spun out of control. Like, the mystery makes her more fascinating, but the fans are applying the rules of the music video scavenger hunt to a completely fabricated reality.
It's exhausting just thinking about it.
Truly. And as you wrap up this deep dive, I want you to really think about the complex mechanics of modern celebrity that we've just unpacked here.
There's a lot to chew on.
On one hand, you have a mastermind artist, someone who meticulously controls her eras, who deliberately builds defensive bunkers when the world gets too loud and dangerous, and who designs joyful, intricate scavenger hunts to connect with the people who truly support her.
Which is brilliant. It is unmatched in modern pop culture.
But on the other hand, you have an internet culture that has become so desperate for clues, so addicted to the hunt, that it will project entire romantic storylines and deep psychological profiles onto a fictional smile.
It really makes you wonder who is actually writing the story anymore.
Yeah, is she controlling the narrative, or is the narrative just a runaway train that she's occasionally steering?
Which leaves us with a final thought to mull over, especially as we look toward the future of how we consume media.
Oh, this is the part that keeps me up at night.
Seriously, we just spent this entire deep dive talking about a fictional live stream that was written out in an article, just text on a screen. But we are rapidly entering an era of artificial intelligence and deepfakes, where a fictional live stream doesn't just exist as text on a page. It can be generated as a hyper-realistic video.
Oh, wow.
If the internet is already this eager to hunt for Easter eggs in a totally made-up text scenario, what happens to the Easter egg economy when fans can no longer tell the difference between a real clue left by a mastermind artist and a synthetic clue generated by a machine?
Oh, man. That is terrifying. Are you looking at a real clue left by a mastermind, or are you just chasing ghosts in a house the internet built?
Exactly.
Something to definitely think about the next time you see a headline that feels just a little too perfectly engineered to make you click. We'll catch you on the next deep dive.